Great. I understand that I only have 15 minutes, so I have to be very precise in my talk. I'm Christine. I'm from the beautiful city of Hong Kong. Hong Kong is a very much cross-cultural region. And since the colonial period, that Hong Kong came across with the Western culture, especially on the religion of Christianity, that is the Christian ethics, humanity, and also that was introduced in Hong Kong. So here is my content of my talk, and I will make it very quick. My focus is very much on the Chinese traditional culture of corporal punishment to minors. And I will talk about the impact and also my research work, how is it doing. So my objective of my talk today is to advocate for the transformation of Chinese traditional disciplinary mindsets. The practices of child corporal punishment do not erode the social norms of post-colonial Hong Kong. And as we all understand or agree with, every child is a person, a subject, an image of God. So a little bit about the background of Hong Kong. Hong Kong was the British colonies in 1841, and it lasted for more than 150 years. And it is the same year that Hong Kong was set up as a prefecture apostolic by the Catholic Church until 1946, that the Diocese of Hong Kong was set up in that year. But then, during these colonial years, 150 years, especially in the middle of the last century, a flow of refugees that came into Hong Kong, and mainly because of the frustration of political problems. And then the economics was booming in Hong Kong since the last century, that need a lot of labor forces, and also the wages tend to be higher in Hong Kong at that time. But then today, Hong Kong, we still have a lot of the immigrants from the mainland China. It is because Hong Kong is a free port, and it is an international, a very important international finance center that, because of the low tax or even free tax for import, and also Hong Kong is, we are having a policy, we call it as the top talent path scheme that attracts professions entering into Hong Kong to work in here. And other than that, the premium education in Hong Kong as well, because 3 universities in Hong Kong are ranked top 50 global QS. So, and that is the reason why, and also Hong Kong is the place that's free to travel in and out of Hong Kong and also abroad. So Hong Kong is a small place, small area, a little bit smaller than Rome, but its population is like 3 times of Rome. And within this population, high population of 7.5 million, we have 2.65 million people, like 1/3 were born in China, meaning the rest of this were born in Hong Kong. So, and also with like 120,000 lived in Hong Kong less than 7 years. And like 500,000 were from rest of Asia. So with that, then today we talked about still a lot of people or from the mainland that came into Hong Kong, but then they faced some of the challenges. The more important challenge or top of it is to find jobs and also to find a good place to live in. Hong Kong is so small, and the cost of land was very high, and the prices of residential for a flat is very high as well. And the new immigrants, they enter in Hong Kong, they face the problem of enculturation. The culture of Hong Kong people is more like we are very much aggressive and we are impatient, so we have to be, everything has to be fast speed. And another thing is about the language. In Hong Kong, a lot of people speak Cantonese versus the new immigrants from China speak Mandarin or the respective dialect. And second language in Hong Kong is English, so they need some time to catch up with the language. Discrimination unfortunately, that happened at workplace, in schools, in social communities, and even among the relatives. So that caused anxiety for the new immigrants for Hong Kong, and they might easily cause family violence or child abuse, especially at the period of COVID. And so for the new immigrants, if they are Christians, the comfort zone for them is the church. Now, thirdly, I want to talk through is about the corporal punishment in the Chinese culture. In fact, Hong Kong, the culture in Hong Kong has a lot common with the people from mainland China. But then the culture of corporal punishment is hardly to compromise. There is a maxim saying that is actually from Confucianism teaching, is that jade cannot be made into anything without carving. And in fact, it means that it's to polish or to improve one's character. But then later on, the folk saying turned into no beating, no success for children. Or under the rod comes a filial child, or under leniency comes rebellion, and so forth. So the concerning practices that may conflict with dignity of minors. What about nowadays? Well, if these pictures made you feel uncomfortable, my apologies, but these are real cases. And these are that happened in the recent years, like in China and Taiwan, with highly populated of Chinese. And the parents or guardians, they punish their children and even put them in public, kneeling on the street. And you can see that some are young children. But then this happened like in the last 10 years. And since 2024, China has amended the child protection policy. So this, I would say, I do not find anything happen to this. But however, there is another trend is that the parents punish the children and they put it online. So you can easily find these videos online. So what I found it, some from the mainland China or some from Taiwan. And the reason why the parents put it in there, perhaps the parents want to show that they are very serious or strict in punishing the children, or they want the children to remember what had happened in their life, and they want to make a digital record. And it can't avoid that some of the parents, they might want to attract viewers for commercial benefits. So when looking at it, you feel it hurts the children's dignity, and it is rather inhuman. And apart from that, some of the sports coaches, they also put it and film it and put it online as well. And there's some wrong concepts is, I found it on TikTok or on Threads, that some people even to demonstrate how to beat a child, like to kick the hip. Or this lady identified herself as a cyclist and saying that after beating a child, do not blame yourself. So this is very wrong. The impact is that to the audience, of course, they will feel uncomfortable. Like when I'm looking at it and I heard the children shouting, crying, screaming, my heart sank, and if you feel heavy-hearted and sympathize with children as well. Some may view it as entertaining, and this is very bad, of course. So if you click onto the comments, and some people's comments are like, oh, this is really funny, or oh, the child will remember it, or they praise the parents, oh, they're doing the right thing. Of course, this is not. And worst case is that some may be influenced to mimic such behavior. And for the children, of course, it is physical harm to them. And they undermine their dignity, of course, and suppress the child's right to voice out. When I look into the pictures about putting the children in public to punish them, then I look at the reasons why the parents want to punish children and put them in public. The explanation is because they were not doing good in school, or they were dropped out from school, or they did not behave well. And there must be some reason, and we have to listen to them. The church told us that a child's potence has to be respected. So we have to let the child, and we have to listen to them. That's what our church teaching is. And of course, it would also weaken the sense of security and trust in the parents and childhood trauma. I want to raise an example is that I know a friend in church. He's a man of over 60 years old. But then he told me that when he was a child, he was tortured by his father. So it had been many years that he cannot forgive his father, even after his father died. And one time, he met with the priest, and the priest had a long talk with him for several hours. And after that, he converted to be a Catholic, and he told me that eventually he forgave his father. He understands that it is because some of the reason is his father also received this kind of punishing when his father was a child. So how come these trends are put online, and who screen this online? So some of this I found it like on IG or on Facebook. And in my analysis, I learned that actually it is the AI to screen about these platforms. But then AI cannot distinguish whether these are real cases. They only look at the AI only screen the comments if they popular, and maybe they take it as comedic or like entertaining. But they cannot distinguish it between whether these are the real parenting tip. And also, it has defaulted that in certain extent, it is the local culture. So there is a big gap between policy and enforcement. When we look at it, when we find this, my suggestion is to report it, not to report it on the comment or attack it, but click onto the account or profile to report it. I may take comparison of the few Asian countries that is highly populated with Chinese, including Hong Kong, China, Taiwan, Singapore, and Malaysia. So for the case of Hong Kong, the situation in Hong Kong and China, the physical punishment in school is banned, is not allowed. And at home, there's a gray area about reasonable chastisement or reasonable discipline. These are the gray areas. But then there's a difference is that earlier this year in Hong Kong, we passed a law of mandatory reporting that 25 professions must report of any suspected cases. 25 professions meaning like in school teachers, principals, or social workers, or medical employers in hospital, and so forth. So that would narrow down the cases about child abuse. And in Taiwan, school physical punishment is banned, but then at home, it is under reform. For Singapore and Malaysia, they have something alike is that, unfortunately, that physical punishment in school for boys are allowed. It passed a law in, if I'm not wrong, in April this year. Last week I was in Lourdes in France, and I came across with a gentleman from Singapore, and I interviewed him about his view about this new law. And he said that it is because school bullying is rather serious, so the government had to do something serious. And secondly is if the government decided on a policy, the citizens is hardly to object to it. So this is the trend. And this something that comes up to my attention is that since in Hong Kong is very strict of not to have the physical punishment. So on the discussion platform, the people discuss is, oh, we cannot beat children in Hong Kong, so go to China. The nearest city to Hong Kong is a city called Shenzhen. So on your left-hand side, there's an article on the discussion panel is that once arrival into Shenzhen, I just cannot wait to beat my child when I get off the car. And the second article is that the children, they do not fear of going to school, but they fear of going to Shenzhen. And on your right-hand side, the upper one, is that my child was so naughty. He opened the fridge and played with the eggs. Oh, what should I do? I cannot beat my child. Another person answered, relax, resolve the problem in Shenzhen. Of course, this is not nice. And at the bottom, a Taiwanese came and lived in Hong Kong. And he said that, I was beaten by my mother when I was a kid for some 20 years ago, and I think it's all right, naturally. So, well, whether this is all right, no, of course. The society also echoes to the corporate punishment in Hong Kong and Taiwan. So recently there were 2 movies about this, and to bring out the importance of protecting the children, or it might cause child abuse. I don't want to go through the details about these 2 movies, but you may watch it online. And the point is that the church teaches us a child who does something wrong must be corrected, but never be treated as an enemy or an object to take out one's own frustrations. I want to make another example is that one time last year, I was in a metro station, and I saw a woman kicking his 2 young kids. And that woman spoke Mandarin. So I looked at her and I shouted to her, stop it, do not beat the child. And she said, no, I was not beating my child. I said, I saw you kicking your children. And she said, don't you know what they did? And I said, I do not care, they are children. And then he kept silent, and she kept silent, and I went to the 2 little child, and I told them that you have to follow your mother, and you have to behave well. So the 2 little children followed his mother, and the mother was calm at the end. But I didn't leave the platform of the metro station. I watched her far from away, and to make sure that she did not do it again. So what I'm telling, or I'm giving this example is, in the first place, we do not complain or report, but we try to persuade them. We have to understand their situation because they are new immigrants. They need some time to adapt to the culture of Hong Kong, especially about safeguarding. So following on, I want to explain is what I'm doing to help is that in my research project that I'm processing, it's not finished yet, but what I'm doing is I use some theoretical framework by using a German theologian named Karl Rahner on his humanity and also Christology. And I do not go through one by one, but perhaps you are very familiar with that. And I just want to remind everyone is that the final document teaches us that we must listen to the children and make effort to ensure that everyone in society listens to them. Now, the method of my project is I wanted to transform the mindset of giving talks to the Catholic parishes, and I also talked at the Protestant church as well, and also religion communities. And after each of the talk, I do modification and adjust it. My audience are the stewards of children, meaning the parish priests, deacons, nuns, sisters, Sunday school teachers, author servers, and some parents. So the contribution I want to achieve is that it's an interdisciplinary approach on theology, some psychology, and cultural analysis. Up to now, I've completed 10 rounds of talk, and the mission is carried on. Like later this month, I would give 3 more talks in Vancouver, in Canada, for the Chinese community, and I want to bring out this. And actually, the topic that I'm talking today is part of my project, part of my research project, not the whole of it. And I'm also the volunteer for the Hong Kong Diocese Safeguarding Center for Minors, and the name is Singularity Center. So my conclusion is that these are the three main factors that I have to meet. Firstly, on transparency, the Paris-pleased, they are my stakeholders. So they also participate in my talks along with the stewards of children. So they are the practitioners. And after each of my talk, I would do the questionnaire and interviews and observation. And I would also submit a report to the Paris-pleased, so they will understand what's happening. Accountability is all the practitioners that are convinced to safeguard minors, and the culture of corporal punishment has to be ended. So we have to support the new immigrants. We do not criticize them, we do not condemn them, but we have to support them, help them to settle down, and we have to understand them, to listen to their problems and help them. Compliance, the talks are consistent with the diocese direction, also teaching of the church. So in closing, I want to make very clear that I love my nation, the nation of China, and I respect many of the excellent cultures. Nevertheless, corporal punishment to children must stop. I believe that it happens to other parts of the world, not just in China, or Hong Kong, or Taiwan, or among the Chinese community. But other forms of harms to children also happen. And yet, I extend the ideal opinion started from the church in the region that I live in, that's Hong Kong. And my ability is teeny tiny, but I will continue to watch out for the minors. This is not an easy task, not an easy path for my project, what I'm doing. I want to raise another example is to show you how difficult it is. One time that happened in February when I gave a talk to a parish. And after the talk, a priest came to me, and he actually came from the mainland China. He has been servicing in Hong Kong for about 10 years. And the priest came to me and said that, you know what, I support the physical punishment in schools. I was like, what? And he said, well, when I was a child, if I did not do my homework very well, the teacher punished me, and I remember it. So if school punishment happened nowadays, that would help the school teachers. So of course, I do not agree with his point. So I just want to raise this question: is this problem it is not easy to turn or about the confirmation of this concept. So that's all I have for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christine. I think you raised a very important question, the question of physical punishment of children, and how it is viewed in a culture.